What really got my attention is that you mentioned that there were two simple techniques that could significantly boost the immune system of the human body, and that they also have been scientifically studied. Can you tell me the two techniques, and can anyone master them?
So the best way I can answer that question is to consider a thought experiment, which is you go to a doctor and the doctor is like, hey, are you keeping up with your diet and exercise? And then they're like, well, the patient usually says, yes, obviously I'm doing my diet and exercise. And they're like, okay, well, here's some pills to help you along your way. But then they don't really discuss, okay, what is your diet and what is your exercise? And what is the ultimate diet and what is the ultimate exercise that works for everyone? We in the modern world are like, well, there is no ultimate diet that works for everyone. But then you look at history and you're like, wait, no, that's not necessarily the case. There is an ultimate diet and there is an ultimate exercise that is universal to the human condition. The best diet or the best thing that any living creature can eat is their own fat cells or fat reserves. You're basically trying to switch your fuel source from eating food to eating fat. Bears hibernate in the winter. Camels go in the desert and walk long periods of time. Literally every animal that exists has to supply its own food source between meals. And that's where my research sort of led me to believe, saying, hey, if you want to master your exercise and your diet, the best way to start is to think about how much fat you can store and how much fat you can burn through fasting. So the best diet that you can eat is your fat cells, and the way you can, or the method that which you can use to eat it is by fasting. The best exercise you can do is a breathing exercise, and of all the breathing exercises, the best one I've been able to find so far is called Tummo meditation, or also known as the Wim Hoff Method, which is where you alternate between breathing lots of oxygen to holding your breath.
These are the two techniques that can significantly boost your immune system if you practice both of these together simultaneously or separate.
They are scientifically proven ways to help you unlock the hidden aspects of your physiology, where you start learning, okay, this is how I control my heart rate. If I breathe in this way, I can lower my heart rate. I can lower my stress level. If I meditate in this way, I get to control my hunger urges. I get to control my monkey brain, so to speak, and actually have control over what I'm thinking and why I'm thinking it.
It's really about getting control of your whole being.
It's about gaining control or gaining mastery of the body that you possess. Like there's this Eastern belief system that you are a soul within the body. You're not the body itself.
Right.
The body is like a field that you inhabit, and how you sow that field, what you put into that field, and what you take out of that field in the form of inputs and outputs controls how that body functions. We've all felt sluggish after Thanksgiving, and we've all had like a really good day after a decent exercise. A class of yoga versus a night of drinking have very different impacts for days.
So fasting has been incorporated into religions from the beginning of time. And as you're mentioning, that fasting can have a significant impact in the way that your body operates. What are some of those benefits to doing a fast and practicing the breathing techniques? Would they help you medically? How does it help the body?
So if you think about fat as the food that you're trying to eat, how you burn fat is by consuming more oxygen. Because if you look at the chemical formula for fat, it requires fat plus oxygen equals water and carbon dioxide. And it's an exothermic reaction, which if you remember from your high school chemistry, it creates energy. So fat plus oxygen, or your own fat reserve with the breathing exercise, combines to create your food and your water. So you're really just trying to break down the fat. And the rate at which you break down the fat is based on how accustomed your body is to that process. So have you gained mastery over your own body will determine how quickly you can metabolize that fat. So if you think about the skill of fasting, and let's think of it as a skill, your body can survive amazing things. We've all known this, right? Like the human condition has great ability to survive and thrive in the most inhospitable environment, from the desert to the Arctic tundra. Humans have permeated every aspect of this planet. Now, think about that and say, okay, I can survive going hungry. Most people say, well, you'll need 3 days without water and 2 weeks without food. That's like a common belief system. But if you think about where that belief system comes from, nobody has any idea. Now, if you look at every religious book that I've been able to come across, they're like, these prophets, they survived an abnormally long time without food or water. Like just a ridiculous amount of time. Moses, 40 days on a mountaintop. You're like, well, no, human can't survive that. But then like Jesus comes in and says, hey, I survived 40 days in the desert. And you're like, what? That's impossible. Like humans don't survive in the desert without 40 days, without food or water. Like that's not supposed to be possible. And then you're like, well, Muhammad did the same thing.
So are you telling me it is possible? Because I always felt like they use that as a metaphor. So you're saying that people can really fast for 40 days? Or was it only in those times? Or which one is it? Can they or can't they?
Go to part 3 of this video to learn the many benefits fasting has to offer besides losing weight.